Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Good morning, students. Today we will be discussing the topic that is the enlarged view of microsporangium. In the last class we have discussed about the structure of anther. We have seen the transverse section of anther. In that we have studied about 4 microsporangium or the pollen sacs. The microsporangium or pollen sacs are the regions or the locations where the pollen grains are being formed. Okay. So, the other name of pollen sacs is microsporangium. So, here we will be discussing the detailed structure of microsporangium. Okay. So, the microsporangium has got different layers. The microsporangium has got different layers. You can see I have drawn different layers with different colored chalks. Here you can see the outermost layer which I have drawn with orange colored chalks. You can see the orange colored cells. The outermost layer, that is the epidermis. The outermost layer is epidermis. Inner to the epidermis, endothecium is present. Inner to the epidermis, the next layer which I have drawn with blue colored chalk, that is endothecium. Inner to endothecium, 1 to 3 middle layers are there. Here I have drawn 2 middle layers with the green colored chalk. Okay. So, the third layer is the middle layers which are 1 to 3. So, we can see that the outermost layer is epidermis. Inner to the epidermis, endothecium is there. Inner to the endothecium, 1 to 3 middle layers are there. Now, these 3 layers, epidermis, endothecium and middle layers, they have got the function of protection. Epidermis, endothecium and middle layers, they protect the inner tissues of the microsporangium. Now we will move to the inner layer. The inner layer, here I have drawn with orange colored chalk. This layer is called as the tapetum layer. Tapetum layer has got very much importance. This tapetum layer, its cells have got more than one nucleus. The cells of the tapetum layer have got more than one nucleus, and tapetum layer, it serves number of functions. So, we can see the functions of the tapetum layer. The first and most important function is nutrition. It provides nutrition to the cells which are going to form the pollen grains. Okay. So, the first and most important function of tapetum layer is to provide nutrition to the cells which are going to form the pollen grains, and it also provides nutrition to the developing pollen grains. Initially, microspores are being formed, and these microspores will mature to form the pollen grains. Okay. So, the first function of tapetum layer is providing nutrition. The second function of the tapetum layer is secretion of the enzyme callase. Callase is the enzyme which can dissolve the callose sugar. Whenever the pollen grains are being formed, the pollen grains, they are attached to each other by a wall of callose sugar. So, whenever the pollen grains, they mature, the cell wall needs to be dissolved. So, that dissolution of the cell wall between the pollen grains is being done by the callase enzyme, and this callase enzyme is secreted by the tapetum layer. So, the second function is secretion of callase enzyme. The third function of the tapetum layer is secretion of the growth hormone indole acetic acid. Indole acetic acid, it is a form of auxin. So auxin, as you know, it is a growth hormone secreted in the plants. So a type of growth hormone is indole acetic acid, and this indole acetic acid is secreted by the tapetum layer. So it helps in the growth and maturation of the microspores into pollen grains. So the third function is secretion of indole acetic acid. Now coming to the fourth function, that is secretion of certain chemical constituents of the pollen grain. So the pollen grain, it is made up of number of proteins and some other chemical constituents. Out of that, the constituent sporopollenin is very much important. The importance of sporopollenin we will study when we will deal with the structure of pollen grain. Okay. So the fourth function is the production or secretion of certain chemical constituents of pollen grains, which include sporopollenin and some other protein factors. So again we will repeat the function of the tapetum layer. Tapetum layer plays a very important role. The first function of tapetum layer is providing nutrition to the cells which are going to form the pollen grains. And it also provides nutrition to the developing pollen grains, so that it helps the initial pollen grains, which are also called as microspores, to mature into pollen grains. The second function is secretion of enzyme callase. Third function is secretion of the hormone, growth hormone, that is indole acetic acid. And the fourth function is production of certain chemical constituents of the pollen grain, for example sporopollenin and some protein factors. Okay, so we have discussed about the four layers. The outermost layer epidermis, inner to epidermis endothecium, inner to endothecium middle layers are there, which may be 1 to 3. So epidermis, endothecium and middle layers, they have got the function of protection. And the innermost layer of microsporangium is tapetum. The tapetum cells have got more than one nucleus, and it serves number of functions, that is nutrition, secretion of callase enzyme, secretion of indole acetic acid and production of certain chemical constituents of the pollen grains. Okay. So we have discussed about the different layers. Now we will move to the innermost central region of the microsporangium. Here I have drawn some cells with white colored chalk. You can see that this mass of cells is called as sporogenous tissue. Okay, so towards the center of the microsporangium, a mass of cells is there which is called as sporogenous tissue. So these sporogenous tissue comprises of the cells which will form the pollen grains. Okay, so the sporogenous tissue has got the function of forming the pollen grains. Each cell of the sporogenous tissue is capable of forming the pollen grains, and nutrition to the sporogenous tissue is being provided by the tapetum layer. Okay, so this we have discussed the enlarged view of microsporangium, in which we have learned about the different layers of microsporangium and their functions. Now we will move to the next topic, that is how the sporogenous tissue they form the pollen grains. The sporogenous tissue, they form the pollen grains by a process called as microsporogenesis. So, microsporogenesis is the process by which the microspores are being formed, and these microspores will mature to form the pollen grains. Okay. So, now we will be discussing what is this microsporogenesis. The microsporogenesis is the process in which a diploid pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell will form haploid microspores by meiosis cell division. I will repeat the definition of microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis is the process by which the formation of haploid microspores take place from diploid pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell by the process of meiosis cell division. Now we will discuss the process of microsporogenesis in detail. As you know that the sporogenous tissue has got the capacity to form the pollen grains. So, here you can see the cells of the sporogenous tissue. The cells of the sporogenous tissue, it will divide continuously by mitosis cell division, and it will form a number of pollen mother cells or microspore mother cells. The sporogenous tissue, it will be diploid in nature, and this as the pollen mother cells or microspore mother cells, they are being formed by mitosis cell division from the sporogenous tissue. This pollen mother cells or microspore mother cells, they will also be diploid in nature. Okay. So, they will be diploid here also, and here also they will be diploid in nature, that is 2n. Now, this pollen mother cell, you know, each cell of the sporogenous tissue is capable of forming or acting as a pollen mother cell or a microspore mother cell. Now, this pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell will undergo meiosis cell division to form 4 haploid microspores. As you all know that as a result of meiosis cell division, the chromosome number is reduced to half and 4 daughter cells are being formed. So, here you can see that the pollen mother cell or the microspore mother cell will undergo meiosis cell division to form 4 haploid microspores. So, these microspores, they will be haploid in nature. Now, these 4 haploid microspores will mature to form the pollen grains. Okay. So, the process of formation of haploid microspores from pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell, that by meiosis cell division is called as microsporogenesis. So, this entire process is called as microsporogenesis. Okay. So, this process of formation of microspores, 4 haploid microspores are being formed from a diploid pollen mother cell by the process of meiosis cell division, and this process is called as microsporogenesis. Now, we will be discussing the structure of pollen grain. We have studied how the pollen grains are being formed by the process of microsporogenesis. Now, we will deal with the structure of pollen grain. The complete study of pollen grain is called as palynology. In palynology, we study about the size, the structure, the shape, the chemical constituents and designs of the pollen grains. So, the complete study of pollen grains is called as palynology. You know that pollen grains which are being formed as microspores. So these microspores, they mature to form the pollen grains. Now these pollen grains, they are haploid in nature. They are minute spores which carry the male gamete. Now we will go for the detailed structure of the pollen grain. Here I have drawn the structure of the pollen grain. The pollen grain, it is surrounded by a hard covering called as sporoderm. The pollen grain is surrounded by a hard covering called as sporoderm, and the sporoderm in turn is made up of two layers. The outer layer is exine and the inner layer is intine. So here in the diagram you can see that this structure I have drawn with the orange colored chalk. This thick layer, that is the sporoderm. The outermost layer is exine and the inner layer is intine. Together they will form the sporoderm. So the pollen grains are being covered by a covering called as sporoderm, which is made up of outer exine and inner intine. Now the exine layer. The exine layer is of very much importance as it is made up of a special chemical constituent called as sporopollenin. Okay, so you remember about sporopollenin. I have told that the tapetum layers or the tapetum cells, they help in the formation of the constituent of pollen grain, that is sporopollenin. So here the sporopollenin is a chemical constituent which makes the exine layer. Now the speciality of this sporopollenin is that it is such a chemical that it is highly resistant to high temperatures, acids and alkalis. So the sporopollenin is a chemical constituent which cannot be degraded at very high temperatures. It cannot be destroyed by acids and alkalis. Till date, no enzyme is known to degrade this sporopollenin layer. Okay, so that is the exine layer made up of sporopollenin. Now moving to the inner layer, that is intine. Intine is a thin layer made up of cellulose and pectin. So intine is a thin layer made up of cellulose and pectin, and exine is made up of sporopollenin. Now this sporopollenin or exine layer is not continuous throughout the pollen grain. You can see at certain regions the exine layer is absent. So the region where the exine layer is absent, that region is called as the germ pore. So you know why this germ pore is essential? This germ pore is essential so that the germination of pollen grain can occur through this germ pore. Whenever the germination of pollen grains will take place, the pollen tube will come out through this germ pore carrying the male gametes. So that is the importance of the germ pore. What is germ pore? The region where the exine layer is absent, that region is called as the germ pore. A pollen grain may be having 1 to 3 germ pores from where the pollen tube comes out at the time of germination. Now we are moving to the inner side. Outer side has got sporoderm, it has got germ pore. Now inside this pollen grain, 2 cells are there. Inside the pollen grain, 2 cells are there, the vegetative cell and generative cell. This complete big cell is called as the vegetative cell, and this small cell inside the vegetative cell, that is called as the generative cell. Okay, so the pollen grain consists of 2 types of cells or 2 cells, that is the vegetative cell and the generative cell. The vegetative cell, it is bigger and the generative cell, it is smaller. So the maximum part of the pollen grain is being taken by the vegetative cell, and the generative cell, it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Now here we will move to the functions of the vegetative cell and generative cell. The vegetative cell has got the function of forming the pollen tube when the germination of pollen grains take place. So the vegetative cell, it forms the pollen tube. So that's why the vegetative cell is also called as the tube cell. The vegetative cell is also called as the tube cell. Why? Because it is involved in the formation of the pollen tube. So that's why also called as tube cell. Now we will move to the generative cell. Generative cell has got the function of formation of male gametes. The generative cell, it will divide by meiosis to form two haploid male gametes. This vegetative cell and generative cell both are haploid in nature. So the generative cell, it will divide by mitosis cell division to form two haploid male gametes. So we will see the difference between the vegetative and generative cell. The pollen grain consists of the two types of cells, vegetative cell and generative cell. Vegetative cell, it is the bigger cell, and the generative cell, it is the smaller cell. The vegetative cell has got a dense cytoplasm and an irregular nucleus. It also stores the reserve food, while the generative cell is smaller and it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Now coming to the functions, the difference is that the vegetative cell will form the pollen tube which will come out through the germ pore, while the generative cell will form the two haploid male gametes. So this was about the structure of the pollen grains. Normally in most of the flowering plants, or you can say in 60% of angiosperms, the pollen grains, they are shed at this two-celled stage. That is, the pollen grain will contain the vegetative and generative cell. While in 40% of the angiosperms, the pollen grains, they are shed at the three-celled stage. So what are the three cells? Number 1 is the vegetative cell, and number 2 and 3 are the two male gametes. Before shedding of the pollen grain, the generative cell will divide by mitosis to form two male gametes. So that is called as the three-celled stage. Okay. So the pollen grains, they are shed at either two-celled stage or at three-celled stage. So 60% at two-celled stage containing a vegetative cell and a generative cell, while 40% in three-celled stage, that is containing one vegetative cell and two male gametes. Okay. So this was all about the structure of the pollen grain. Now we will discuss some characteristics of the pollen grains, like advantages, disadvantages, how they are preserved, all these things now we will discuss. Now, number 1 is the pollen grains, they are being used as the food supplements. The pollen grains, they are very much rich in nutrients, mainly proteins, sugars and unsaturated fats. So the pollen grains, as they are rich in nutrients, they are being used as pollen food supplements. Okay. So now these pollen food supplements, they are available in the market in the form of tablets or syrups. Next thing, these pollen food supplements are being used by the athletes, and it is given to the race horses to enhance their performance. Okay. So the pollen food supplements, as they are rich in nutrients, they are given to the racehorses. They are taken by the athletes to enhance their efficiency. So, the pollen food supplements, they are of very much importance. Now, second is the use of pollen grains in cosmetics. Mainly pollen creams are being made. Now, these pollen creams, they protect the skin from the harmful UV radiations. Okay, so the pollen grains, they are being used in the cosmetics. Mainly in pollen creams are being made which protect the skin from harmful UV radiations. Now, how the pollen grains, they are preserved? The pollen grains, they are preserved by a method called as cryopreservation. So, the pollen grains, they are preserved by a method called as cryopreservation. In cryopreservation, the pollen grains, they are stored in liquid nitrogen at 196 degrees Celsius, at minus 196 degrees Celsius, and this method of preservation is called as cryopreservation. By this method, the pollen grains, they are stored in pollen banks. The plant breeders can take these pollen grains from the pollen bank and they can utilize them for artificial crossbreeding programs. Okay, so the preservation of pollen grains is being done by the cryopreservation. In cryopreservation, the pollen grains are stored in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. Now moving to the next topic here, that is pollen viability. Pollen viability means the time duration or the time period for which the pollen grains, they are capable of fusing with the female gamete. Means the time period for which the male gametes present inside the pollen grain, they are intact and they can fuse with the female gamete. Means the time period for which their functional efficiency is being maintained. So that time period is called as pollen viability. Means the time period for which the pollen grains, they are efficiently functional, that time period is called as the pollen viability. This pollen viability varies with species to species. It may range from 30 minutes to few months to few years also. Okay, so the pollen viability, the time period for which the pollen grain remains functional. Now next is the pollen allergy. Pollen allergy, I think all of you must have heard of allergies. Okay, many of the people, they are allergic to pollen grains, and the common name of this pollen allergy is hay fever, H-A-Y, hay fever. Okay, so this pollen allergy, it is being caused by inhalation of pollen grains. Whenever pollen grains are being inhaled, they reach our respiratory tracts and cause many respiratory problems. So these respiratory problems like asthma, okay, bronchitis, okay, these are the results of pollen allergy. Okay, so these pollen grains, they are highly allergic. They can cause allergy or they can affect the respiratory tract or the respiratory system, and it can cause many respiratory disorders. So these were certain characteristics. We can take it as the advantages as well as disadvantages of pollen grains, where we are utilizing that, where we are preserving the pollen grains. Okay, first is pollen grains used as the pollen food supplements as they are rich in nutrients. Second is they are being used in the cosmetics as pollen creams. They are being preserved by the process of cryopreservation, that is in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. And next is pollen viability, the time period for which the pollen grains, they remain functionally efficient, that time period is called as pollen viability, which may vary with species to species. Now next is pollen allergy. Pollen allergy is caused due to inhalation of pollen grains, and these pollen grains, they can affect the respiratory tract and cause many respiratory disorders like asthma and bronchitis. So in today's class we have discussed about the enlarged structure of the microsporangium. We have discussed about the process of microsporogenesis, in which we have studied how the microspores or pollen grains are being formed by the pollen mother cell that is being formed from the sporogenous tissue, okay, and the cell division involved is meiosis cell division. After that, we have discussed about the structure of the pollen grain, in which we have studied about the outer layers, that is exine and intine, and inner to these layers two cells are there, vegetative cell and generative cell. The functions of vegetative and generative cell involved in formation of the pollen tube, and generative cell is involved in the formation of the two male gametes. After the discussion of pollen grains, structure of pollen grains, we have discussed about the utility of the pollen grains and their harmful effects. Okay, so this entire topics we have covered in this class. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more.